Right now, before you've even finished your morning coffee, your brain has likely processed more social data and like a complex hierarchical information than your ancient ancestors processed in an entire lifetime.
Which is just, I mean, it's a staggering thing to think about.
It really is. You are flooded with updates, metrics, global crises, and career milestones of people you barely even know.
Right.
And according to this really fascinating text we're looking at today called The Architecture of Meaning in a Disconnected World, that massive, relentless data overload is, well, it's the exact underlying reason why having literally everything at our fingertips somehow feels like having nothing at all.
Yeah, it is. It's the defining paradox of our era, really.
Exactly. So today, we're deconstructing the hidden structural reasons why modern life feels like a treadmill of mere survival. We're going to map out the invisible neurological traps of the attention economy and, try to extract a blueprint for reclaiming a sense of actual purpose.
I love that. Because we have successfully optimized the human experience for maximum comfort, infinite convenience, and frictionless transactions. But
it's not working.
No. In the process of engineering all that friction out of our lives, we seem to have accidentally engineered meaning right out of our daily existence.
Wow.
And what this text does so well is it moves past the surface level complaints about smartphones. It looks directly at the neurobiology of why we feel so incredibly hollow.
Right. It's not just phones are bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to understand the mechanics of that emptiness, we actually have to look at the very first few seconds of the day. Because the battle for a meaningful life is largely lost before your feet even hit the floor.
Oh, man, the modern morning ritual.
Yeah, we all know it.
You wake up, and before you have even consciously processed the physical dimensions of the room you're lying in, you reach for the phone. Right. I mean, we all know social media is curated. Nobody needs another reminder that people use filters. But okay, let's unpack this, because what I want to dig into is the physiological impact of that specific moment.
Yeah, the timing of it is crucial.
You're transitioning out of sleep, and the very first input your brain receives is a hyper-concentrated dose of global societal expectations.
And what's fascinating here is exactly that timing. When you first wake up, your brain is shifting from delta and theta sleep waves into alpha and beta waking states.
Yeah.
In those few minutes, your neurobiology is incredibly plastic. It's highly impressionable.
Like a sponge.
Exactly like a sponge. Evolutionarily, waking up was the time to orient yourself to your immediate physical surroundings and your close-knit tribe. But instead, we immediately download a massive curated data set of thousands of people's absolute peak experiences.
Right.
Your brain, which evolved to constantly monitor your social standing, to keep you safe from being exiled from the tribe, suddenly perceives that everyone in your tribe is richer, more attractive, and just wildly more successful than you are.
I love to think of it like this. It's like watching a highly edited movie trailer of someone else's life and comparing it to the behind-the-scenes, unedited blooper reel of your own.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Naturally, you're going to feel like you're falling behind. It's like trying to perfectly calibrate a highly sensitive scientific instrument while someone is blasting a foghorn in the room.
Yeah.
Your brain is trying to set its baseline for the day, and you're feeding it data that says your reality is fundamentally inadequate.
And that recalibration is the core issue here. It triggers a phenomenon known as hedonic adaptation, but on warp speed.
Wait, hedonic adaptation, break that down for me.
So we usually think of gratitude as just a warm, fuzzy emotion you write in a journal, right?
Yeah.
But neurologically, it is the fundamental ability to assign value to your current environment. It is the cognitive recognition of safety and sufficiency.
Oh, wow.
So when your baseline of normal is artificially inflated by scrolling through luxury vacations and entrepreneurial success stories at 7:00 a.m., your brain literally stops releasing dopamine for the small, everyday realities of your actual life.
So the small stuff just doesn't register anymore.
Right. A quiet morning, a decent cup of coffee, a stable job, they suddenly register as deficits. And without the chemical ability to appreciate your baseline reality, well, psychological well-being is functionally impossible.
Wow. So comparison doesn't just steal joy.
Yeah.
It actively breaks the mechanism that allows us to process joy in the first place.
Yes.
Which, forces a somewhat uncomfortable question.
I know where you're going with this.
If this morning scroll is so neurologically destructive, right? If it's jacking up our baseline and leaving it feeling inadequate before breakfast, why are we so compulsively drawn to it?
Because the underlying drive isn't actually to look at screens.
It's not.
No. The underlying drive is an ancient, desperate, evolutionary need for connection. For hundreds of thousands of years, our physical survival was entirely dependent on being integrated into a tribe.
Right, because isolation meant you were going to starve or get eaten by a tiger.
Exactly. Certain death. And we still carry that exact same neurological wiring. Our brains are absolutely terrified of being alone.
Yeah.
But the modern attention economy has hijacked that survival drive and handed us a highly addictive, completely counterfeit version of a tribe.
Okay, wait. I want to challenge the premise of this disconnectedness here, just to test the boundaries of the idea.
Sure.
Because technically speaking, we are transmitting more communication than any generation in the history of the planet. I mean, I'm firing off dozens of text messages, I'm reacting to stories, I'm on endless group threads. We are communicating constantly.
Yes.
But why doesn't that massive volume of communication satisfy the tribal wiring?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at how human empathy and neurological safety are actually transmitted. The text maps out the difference between low bandwidth and high bandwidth communication.
Low bandwidth versus high bandwidth.
Okay. Text messages, emojis, double tapping a photo, these are extremely low bandwidth data transfers. They transmit raw information, but they do absolutely nothing to stimulate the physiological markers of connection. High bandwidth connection, the kind that actually satisfies our evolutionary craving, requires physical presence. It requires hearing the micro fluctuations in someone's vocal tone, seeing their pupil dilation, and experiencing what's called limbic resonance.
Limbic resonance?
Yeah, where your nervous systems actually sync up in a shared physical space.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between reading the nutritional label on an apple and actually eating the apple.
Yes.
One gives you the data, but the other actually gives you the sustenance.
Precisely. Because high bandwidth, face-to-face interaction actually stimulates the vagus nerve, which runs from your brainstem down through your abdomen.
Okay.
When that nerve is stimulated by genuine social engagement, it actively downregulates your fight or flight response. It literally tells your body, you are safe, you are understood, you belong.
And a like or a view count can't do that.
No. A metric cannot stimulate the vagus nerve. We are trying to satisfy a biological requirement for physical presence with numerical data, and because the nervous system doesn't register a text message as actual presence, it perceives us as being entirely alone, even when we have, 3 million followers.
Which explains the panic. We feel this terrifying hollow void where that vagal nerve safety should be.
Exactly.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because society doesn't teach us the neurobiology of connection, so we misdiagnose the problem.
Yes, we do.
We feel empty, so we assume we just haven't achieved enough yet. We try to fill a biological void with the only substitute society actively promotes, which is external success, status, luxury.
It is a massive misdirection of human energy. People feel that gnawing lack of belonging, and the cultural script tells them, well, if you get the VP title, if you buy the massive house in the gated community, if you drive the 6-figure car, then you will finally feel secure and complete.
Right.
But status is just a proxy for tribal security. When you acquire all those external markers without the foundational high bandwidth connection, the emptiness doesn't go away. It just gets more expensive.
I mean, chasing societal success to cure evolutionary loneliness is like trying to fix a deep software bug by buying a more expensive computer monitor.
Yes.
You can upgrade the display all you want. You can make a 4K curved, make it look incredible to everyone walking by your desk, but the underlying code is still broken. A bigger house just gives you more square footage to pace around in while feeling entirely isolated.
And that realization is exactly what triggers the exhaustion you see in so many successful people today. They run the societal script flawlessly. They wake up, optimize their workflow, consume, scroll, sleep. They climb to the absolute top of the economic ladder, only to look around and realize the effort didn't yield meaning.
They realized the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall.
Exactly. But the text introduces another layer here that fundamentally shifts how we view modern suffering. It's the concept of the comfort crisis.
The comfort crisis, yes. Let's talk about the friction dependency of the human brain. This concept completely reframed how I look at my own daily annoyances.
It's a game changer.
Because we have spent the last century engineering friction out of existence. Food arrives via an app without having to speak to a human. Climate control keeps us at exactly 72 degrees year-round. Endless algorithms ensure we are never bored for even a microsecond.
Right.
But what the text argues is that our biology actually requires physical and mental friction to maintain its strength.
Biology dictates that adaptation and growth require a stressor. It's the principle of allostasis.
Allostasis.
Yeah. Think of it like this. If you want a muscle to grow, you have to subject it to the friction of heavy weight, creating micro tears that the body then repairs and strengthens. Psychological and emotional resilience operate on the exact same physiological principle.
Yeah.
When you remove all meaningful struggle, challenge, and discomfort from daily life, cognitive pathways begin to prune themselves. We lose our tolerance for distress.
We get soft.
We do. And more importantly, the brain is a problem-solving machine. If you don't give it a tangible physical problem to solve, like, chopping wood to stay warm or foraging for food, it doesn't just turn off, it turns inward.
It invents a problem.
Yes. In the absence of physical friction, the brain manufactures psychological friction. A minor email from a boss suddenly triggers the exact same cortisol response as a predator in the brush.
That is so true.
We are actively softening ourselves into misery because we have removed the very obstacles that used to give our days shape, purpose, and a sense of genuine competence. Without overcoming meaningful challenges, you never get to discover your own capability. And without a sense of capability, life fundamentally loses its meaning.
We're meticulously avoiding the friction, but the friction is the only thing that actually gives us traction.
Oh, that's good. Yes.
So what does this all mean? Let's map this out. If chasing status is just a hardware fix for a software bug, if digital connection is starving our vagus nerve, and if a frictionless, perfectly comfortable life is actually manufacturing chronic anxiety.
Which it is.
Right. Then we have to look at the alternative. What is the actual architecture of a meaningful life? And the source flips the entire modern script here. It argues that the solution isn't about acquiring more, it is entirely about the architecture of needing less.
And that requires a radical, almost aggressive shift in how we operate, because the modern global economy is entirely predicated on screaming at you to consume.
Yes, constantly.
It demands your attention, your data, your insecurities, and your money. To build meaning, you have to engage in deliberate subtraction. The architecture of meaning relies on less distraction, less noise, less comparison, and a ruthless pruning of the arbitrary metrics of success that we've unconsciously absorbed.
Deliberate subtraction. It's fascinating because we usually think of self-improvement as an additive process.
Right.
Like, oh, I feel empty. I need to add a meditation app. I need to add a new morning routine, add a new hobby.
Yeah, buy another book.
Exactly. But this text suggests we need to strip things away. Instead of buying a book on building community, you literally just go sit on your front porch and talk to your neighbor. Instead of downloading a productivity tracker, you delete 3 apps that drain your time.
Exact.
But the catch is, subtraction is terrifying. When you remove the noise, you are forced to sit in the quiet.
And sitting in the quiet activates what neuroscientists call the default mode network in the brain.
The default mode network.
Yeah. When you aren't distracted by external stimuli, your brain turns its attention inward. It processes your memories, your unfulfilled desires, and your sense of self.
Which sounds nice in theory.
But for a lot of people, the default mode network is a very uncomfortable place to be. It forces you to confront the questions you've been using your phone to avoid.
Like what?
Questions like, what do I actually value? Am I living the life I want, or the life the algorithm suggested for me?
Right.
You have to clear the digital noise to even begin exploring those answers.
You have to face the unedited blooper reel of your own reality.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the ultimate truth embedded in this material. Connection, purpose, and gratitude. The actual load-bearing pillars of human meaning, they cannot be optimized, downloaded, or hacked. They demand a slow, intentional build. It means prioritizing the messy, high-bandwidth reality of the physical world over the curated perfection of the digital one.
It's a return to intentional friction, engaging in struggles that you have consciously chosen because they align with your core values. Maybe that's the friction of raising a child, or mastering a difficult physical skill,
Right.
or having the incredibly uncomfortable conversation required to repair a fractured friendship. That kind of friction doesn't drain meaning, it generates it. It provides the high bandwidth connection and the sense of capability that our neurobiology is desperately starving for.
We have to consciously opt out of the hyperspeed consumption loop.
Yeah.
So if you are listening to this and you've been feeling that pervasive hollowness, that quiet dread, that you are just surviving a heavily optimized loop instead of living a life, the solution is not to hustle harder for a different outcome.
No, it's really not.
It's to step entirely off that specific track. Strip away the noise, seek out high bandwidth, face-to-face time with people, and lean heavily into the meaningful voluntary struggles that force you to grow. You have to stop upgrading the monitor and start fixing the code.
Beautifully said.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final structural puzzle to chew on. This entire deep dive makes a massive, compelling case for individual responsibility. The idea that we must personally choose to step back, put the phone down, and build our lives slowly and intentionally.
Right.
But consider the physical architecture of the modern world for a second. Think about the way our environment is literally constructed. We live in sprawling suburbs zoned exclusively for single families, connected only by multi-lane highways. We've designed a world for cars, drive-throughs, and remote work, which physically isolates us behind screens in our own homes for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
So how do you intentionally build a slow, high-bandwidth, deeply connected life when the literal concrete, roads, and infrastructure around you are aggressively engineered to keep you isolated, friction-free, and moving at a relentless high-speed pace? How do you maintain a grounded, local reality in a world physically built for the algorithm? Let that marinate.